Native people, Native culture, Native knowledge. Hi, I'm Jeannie Green, bringing you award-winning Heartbeat Alaska.
Bringing you national and international Native news, this is award-winning Heartbeat Alaska, the premier Native voice in Native programming.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder. Revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to
Now, with Heartbeat Alaska, here's Jeannie Green.
Hello everyone and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. Native news and Native information. I'm Jeannie Green. Thank you so very much for joining us. Today we bring you legislative updates like last week with Georgianna Lincoln. This week featuring Representative Reggie Joule. The Iditarod race is underway. We interviewed Mike Williams, and stay with us next week as we go out on the Iditarod Trail. Don't go away, it's going to be a great show. We once again bring you legislative updates. This week from Juneau, Alaska, Senator Georgianna Lincoln gives us the lowdown on what's happening in our state's capital. Thank you so very much, Tanana Chiefs Conference out of Fairbanks, for bringing us this wonderful segment.
And I'll start out this way. Albert told you my name, Reggie Joule. That name has been around here since probably the missionaries gave it to my grandfather about 100 years ago. Now let me tell you who I am. I'm a Sigaruktok. That name comes from Point Hope, and in Point Hope, I am considered an Ungasiksigaak. There are two kind of clans, if you will, in the community of Point Hope. The Ungasiksigaaks and the Khemarak. It's kind of like the Democrats and the Republicans. You know, Albert, before I get into the topic, Albert said that I used to be involved in the Eskimo Olympics, and I was for 15 years, from 1970 to 1985. And I was fairly athletic then and involved in actually getting out and doing things. Now I'm just more of an athletic supporter. So when I talk about this urban and rural divide, I'm going to lay a little bit of a background. You know, in the Constitutional Convention, there was one Alaska Native from Southeast, Frank Bradovich. And so there was kind of an exclusion then. If you ever take a look at the state seal for the state of Alaska, and it depicts all the different kinds of activities that are on that seal, you'll see airplanes, you'll see steamships, you'll see farmers, you'll see miners, but you won't see an Alaska Native. And then I want to read something. And it comes right out of the Constitution of the state of Alaska. and it's called the Preamble. We, the people of Alaska, grateful to God and to those who founded our nation and pioneered this great land in order to secure and transmit to succeeding generations our heritage of political, civil, and religious liberty within the Union of States, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the state of Alaska. And when I read that several years ago, I kept going back to grateful to God and those who founded our nation and pioneered this land. And I asked, what's missing? And seems like even before the pioneers came, we were here. And you know, the thought came to me then that we're either an oversight or an afterthought. Now, last year, one of the issues that came up that really highlighted where people were coming from was the issue of subsistence. Now, I'm not going to go over all of that whole scenario, except to say that subsistence is now, has been, as long as we can remember, and will continue to be, as long as we teach our children, an issue that will be on the front burner for us, regardless of who has to manage the resource. This is going to continue to be a front burner issue because that's part of who defines us as a people. Even to the point I introduced myself with my Inupiaq name, Isiguruktok. Isiguruktok, as it was told to me by an elder from the community of Point Hope, where my family roots are, said that when the community catches a whale and they pull it up on the ice and they butcher that whale and they take the liver, and if somebody is taking the membrane of that liver for the purpose of using it and the skin drum because they can get a softer tone, that is what my Inupiaq name means. And the point there is that, you know, even to who we are in our names defines that way of life that we sum up in that one word, subsistence. And I think many of us probably carry names like that. Unfortunately, right now, the issue of subsistence politically is on the back burner. And hopefully, we can bring that to the front burner again and deal with it. Last year, as we were dealing in these issues of urban-rural divide, was a bill called SB 36, this rewrite of the school foundation. Well, that legislation passed. But there are still issues out there that are of huge concern in the education community, specifically to rural Alaska. An area is the cost of how much money we spend in administration versus education, instruction. And I said that backwards. 70%, the law says, has to be spent in education, instruction, and 30% in administration. Now, for those of us in rural areas, we understand that the cost of living is extremely high. You know, some surveys or audits show that, you know, in a community like Barrow, it's only 2.4%, and my response to that is, out of your own pocket, Buy your own plane ticket to Barrow. That'll give you an indication. Then fill your tank up with gas. And on and on and on. And I think that right away, you begin to recognize that the cost of living in rural Alaska is quite a bit higher. But another issue that has yet to hit as a result of the passage of SB 36 has to do with the testing and the standards. What does that mean to rural Alaska, and how should we prepare for that as our students hit those benchmarks? Because this year's 9th graders have to take those exit exams in order to get a diploma of graduation as opposed to a certificate of attendance. And it's my belief that in our rural communities, we need to pay specific attention in the area of special education needs. In an effort to have Alaska higher, we actually put ourselves in a position where we discriminate against those communities in terms of local hire. In that particular community, for that project, there were several qualified people who could do the work. The contractors bring their own people in. Not one single person from that community was put to work. Not one. I wanted to mention, I mentioned this yesterday at a chamber meeting. You know, sometimes we strive to bridge an understanding, but we only let people go so far, or they'll only go so far. Sometimes we can get some of the urban people out to visit our rural communities, and that's great. And if they can visit with us and eat with us and meet with us, that's wonderful. And then I've had several people from the city, sometimes in making the point that they've been out to rural Alaska, say that I even had to use a honey bucket when I was there. And I hate to bring this up during lunch, but I'm glad you're done. I even had to use a honey bucket while I was there. And you know, a thought came through my mind, and that is, you know, anybody can make a deposit anywhere. But I wonder, and I've started to ask this question, did you dump it? The point is, you know, there's always more to trying to reach a level of understanding. And sometimes just because you've used one, you still don't get a grasp sometimes of the makeup of certain people or individuals unless you've had to do and walk in their shoes and experience some of the things that they've had to experience, that we've had to experience.
Hello again, Heartbeat Alaska audience. We're glad to have you back here again in Juneau. We just heard from Reggie Joule, representative, on some of the issues that we're facing here in Juneau as of March 3rd. And one of the key that I thought that he came away with was people who are well informed are better citizens. And that's so true that some of the very issues that he spoke about this afternoon are issues that are very near and dear to each and every one of our communities. And the way that we're going to get changes made in a positive way is for you to be better informed citizens and for you to participate in that system So we need to hear from you through letters, we need your calls, we need public opinion messages, if it's emails that you do, that contact all of the representatives, all of the senators, and if you cannot contact them individually, just write to your senator and write to your representative and have them forward your letter or your email to each of the legislators, each of the 60 legislators here in Juneau. But it was a very positive message that Reggie gave, and one that I hope that you will take heart to, one that you will be involved in, so that we have a better Alaska for all people and a better Alaska for our communities and what our needs are all across the state, whether it is bush Alaska, rural Alaska, or urban Alaska, that we are the citizens, we are the ones that elect the representatives here in Juneau, and your involvement is going to make the difference. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Reggie Joule and Georgianna Lincoln. By the way, Reggie Joule will be with us again next week for legislative updates. And thank you once again, Tanana Chiefs Conference out of Fairbanks, Alaska. The world-famous Iditarod race is underway. Heartbeat Alaska spoke with Mike Williams as he was preparing to go out on the trail. Heartbeat Alaska thanks the American Seafoods Company for making this program possible. Thank you for sponsoring this segment of Heartbeat Alaska. The Iditarod race is underway. Musher Mike Williams from Akiak, Alaska, drew the number 2 place. He's out on the trail. The race began in 1925. A diphtheria epidemic threatened the town of Nome. The much-needed serum was raced from Tanana to Nome by dog team. 20 teams relayed the medicine, 674 miles in 27.5 hours. Today, this historic event is commemorated with the world-famous Iditarod sled dog race. The competition starts in Anchorage on the first Saturday in March. The first musher arrives in Nome approximately 10 to 12 days later. Mike Williams, hopefully, will be one of those top mushers. Mike Williams lives in Akiak, Alaska, a Yupik village of about 350 people. Akiak is located 30 miles above Bethel on the Kuskokwim River.
Well, the team looks real good. We've worked hard all year.
Mike Williams is an inspiration to all of us here in Alaska.
Oh, this is a hard life. It's hard work, and I've been doing this for all my life.
For Mike Williams, the Iditarod is more than a dog race. It's a race for sobriety. He's carrying pledges from those who promise to give up our native people's #1 killer, alcohol.
Well, in the last 5 years that I've done since 1992 with my major race with the race for sobriety on the Iditarod, I think I've seen a big difference in the people's lives throughout. You know, I'm traveling a lot throughout the state, and there's nothing but positive comments, and when I hear testimonials that they've become sober, and that really is a motivator behind what I'm doing.
Willie Khemarak, Mike's brother-in-law, has been a dog handler and trainer for Mike for the past 2 years. He's from Akiak, Alaska, and has experience in village mushing. He knows the effects of alcohol.
I've seen a lot of deaths due to alcohol, and I think what Mike is doing has an impact on, you know, some people that have problem when they realize how bad it is in the family, in the villages, in the community.
Coming from the village, Willie is also a village musher whose numbers far outnumber the few Alaska native Iditarod mushers.
Well, Iditarod is really hard to get into because it costs so much.
I think if a person has everything right with getting sponsorship to pay for the expenses, and a lot of them, a lot of young mushers need that continuous support, and if they're going to be in the sport and in competing with the best in the world, like the Iditarod and the Cusco and other mid-distance races and the Yukon Quest. So.
Ramey Brooks, Alaskan athlete, Iditarod musher, tobacco-free. Come to where the freedom is. Choose to be tobacco-free.
Thank you so much, reporter John Crabb and Mike Williams, for that story. Next week, Heartbeat Alaska will be out on the Iditarod Trail interviewing many of your favorite mushers. You don't want to miss that show. Let's take a moment now for some Native music, and I'll be back right after that.
He has fire in his eyes and a sword in his hand, and he's riding a white horse across this land. He has fire in his eyes and a sword in his hand. He's riding a white horse all across this land. And he's calling out to you and me. Will you ride with me? Say yes, Lord. We will stand up and fight. We will ride with the armies of heaven. We're gonna be dressed in white. We'll be dressed in white. We say yes, Lord. Yes.
Look for We Win, World Evangelism with Indigenous Nations, another program brought to you by Heartbeat Alaska, coming soon.
Ships that took us far away, sailing through the broken ice towards the shores of paradise, where they say our new life will begin. I can't wait until my ship comes in, landing on the edge of Osman, wondering if we could survive here. We were told that half would stay, the rest of us were on our way. Will I see my family again? I can't wait until my ship comes in. The Tudjaat sail on. I can't wait until my ship comes in. Our final destination reached. They left us standing on the beach, planted there like human flags that winter's fury turned to rays. The hunter showed us empty hands again. I can't wait until my ship comes in. Tudjaat sail on. I can't wait until my ship comes in. nobody ever wins. I can't wait until my ship comes in. I think I hear voices in the wind telling me my ship will soon come in.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska. It's a pleasure creating this program, making it for you, and receiving your videos. Very important. Please don't forget, Heartbeat Alaska is Native News, and we need your videos. We need to share your news with everyone else. Get your camcorder out. No event is too small. No news is too little for Heartbeat Alaska. If it's news to you, it's news to us. Heartbeat Alaska, 907-563-7440. God bless you all, and we'll see you again out on the trail next week.
It's time. Navigate. Navigate. Set your course. Navigate. Live by a creed, a model free of greed. Be true to what you speak and last Mohican. In real life, love your wife. My neighbor, do yourself a favor. When the words fall down, you're looking like a clown. Ain't no one gonna save you, they'll take back what they gave you. It's like that, like that. So when you want the truth, you had enough of Dr. Seuss. You've been so tight, but your love is so loose. No advice to be given, it's all a part of living. It's like that, like that. Don't cover up the sour, don't duck it, cower. It'll be your longest hour. Play some music, don't abuse it, deal, cause it's real. No time to buy a steal. Let yourself feel. You'll heal. Set your course, navigate. Be real. Navigate. I see you don't comprehend, so give me your ear, my friend. I have advice to lend and ways of life to mend. Rhythmic syncopation, my occupation requires your concentration as I navigate my translation. Telling you what I'm knowing if you don't like where you're